All right, great. So we'll get started here. So I'm actually in Vancouver right now, at our offices in Vancouver. I actually flew up um, about a month ago at this point now to get our offices fully open in Vancouver, Canada. So I'll give you guys a quick overview of the company. I'll talk about a few things. I'll take some questions. I'll try to keep it brief um, and kind of go through a few bullet points and then talk about a few items. So what we're going to discuss today is pretty straightforward, I think. Is who is Landshark? Who are we, the company, our instructors, kind of about us. Talk about some of our partners, and then I think everybody's here to learn about income generation, or maybe you're just curious. So we'll discuss that. We'll discuss the importance of equity options trading, which I hold near and dear to my heart for trading. Then we'll discuss hedging with E-mini futures, which I also love. Then we'll discuss some recent trades on this $36,000 price line trade that one of our students had in Scottsdale, and then a lot of other students have done well with it as well. So before we get started, I want to just get this out of the way, and then we'll jump into some really good quality stuff this afternoon. So we have a class on Monday if you're interested. It's a 1-hour trading 101 class. It'll be recorded. It'll be 5 p.m. Eastern. With that, you'll have access to our live futures trading room. We trade oil, E-mini futures, gold, and S&Ps. You'll also have access to our sharp chat room. It's really simple. It's $7. The only concept with this is it allows you to come and hang out with the community at Landshark. We have over 150 students across the world. You can come in, hang out, see if what we do, who we are, and how we do it fits what you're looking for. Pretty simple entry fee, not that big. So I'm going to jump over to some questions, and I'll go through and look at them as I go through this, but I'll give you guys a brief background, and we'll go through this. So I started the company in 2013. Originally, all we taught was futures trading. So my background, real brief, is when I'm 30 years old now. I was 20. I started as an analyst at Charles Schwab just before the market crashed. I moved over to a futures trader at a hedge fund in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was trained there by a couple of former floor guys, so I traded futures there. I was headhunted away about a year and a half later to a family office in Los Angeles. There I traded on a desk where I handled equity options trading, some long short ideas for that family office in Los Angeles. So that was a real grind. You go through the kind of corporate experience of trading, managing a really large book, and going through all that. I was pretty young at that point still. Came back to Arizona, worked for a forex broker dealer. It was a really good setup for me because it allowed me to be around a group about 6 guys. It was a remote location or a remote office in Scottsdale. So it allowed me to work at the dealer and then trade on my futures and options book, right? So during that time, I really never ventured on this side of education, right? So I never looked at this side because I was trained from 2 funds. I never looked at the retail side. So I went to a forum to ask a question about margins because typically at the 2 prior funds, we didn't trade through discount futures brokers. We traded through a bank, a larger bank, on a different clearing firm. So I didn't know you would get $500 trading margins. So I was going through this. And I was on a forum. Some guy messaged me, asked me to teach him. I was like, it's not really what I do, but I'll talk with you, chat with you, and whatever. We evolved from there. So I started teaching futures. He started sending me people. There's a forum called Big Mike's Trading. He had a huge following on there, probably about 10,000 followers. I mean, he's had his own thread on there. I never knew that community very well, so a lot of people came to me. I taught futures. What I saw was a lot of small retail traders struggle. Struggle because they were using indicators or they didn't understand, market fundamentals or a macro approach to markets, or they didn't have a proper plan to trading. So I said, look, why don't you guys incorporate equity options trading, right? I've seen a lot of futures traders struggle because of the very high kind of like intensity market to trade if you don't understand what you're doing. It's very fast. It's almost addicting to addicting. And so we started to kind of get people over the options side. We saw a lot of success with retail traders trading options. So in 2014, we added our on-demand classes. 2014, what did I lose? What happened there, guys? Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. 1 second. Did I lose the screen there? Okay, sorry guys, I'm not sure what happened. The screen just cut out there. So 2014, we were nominated for one of the top futures trading courses. We didn't win. There's some companies that have been out here for 15, 20 years. But basically in our second year, we were nominated. We finished really high in the rankings. We're pretty proud about that. 2015, we added courses, live classes in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's actually where I'm from. And then this year, or last year rather, we opened an office in Houston, in Vancouver, where I'm at right now. We have an office in Newport Beach. So you can actually take classes in person, or you can take them online. A lot of our classes, I'll go through quickly, you can keep retaking for 12 months and we don't charge. You can just keep coming back and hanging out with the community. So that's myself. I'm the founder. Our options instructor, Ophir Vasukur, is our options instructor. He's an MBA, used to run a family office in Canada, still trades his own money. He's out of Vancouver. David Walker is our futures instructor. He manages a few small accounts. He's a Series 3 license with the NFA. And then Zach used to work at a prop trading firm. Maybe you guys have heard of SMB Capital in New York, and also at Kirshner Trading in Georgia. So some of our partners, really quickly, we have a partnership with TD Ameritrade. It allows us to distribute a group trading rate that's a lot less on the option side for a lot of traders. How many of you actually trade options? If you guys trade options, can you guys just put a 1 out there? Okay, I'm not sure if I can see anybody replying. I don't know if I have the right chat here. Okay. Nice. Cool. So we trade a lot of options. We have a pretty decent group rate.
Daniel, are you here? We cannot hear you right now. Can you test your mic?
All right, is it back on, guys? Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. You know what? I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi here. I'm going to try to connect. My apologies. I'm going to try and connect to let's see if I can. Give me 1 second, guys. my personal. I don't see it. Okay, so let me just run through this. If it messes up again, I'm just going to put on my personal Wi-Fi on this off my cell phone, and I'll just run a hotspot on this. I have no idea why it's not connecting, but give me just a moment here. Okay. Okay, my back, guys. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on with the Wi-Fi here. Good. Always something with tech, I swear. Okay, thanks, Grant. All right, so let's jump through this, guys. My apologies. Thanks for sticking in there with me. Right. Okay, so we have some student reviews you guys can go take a look at. I'm going to jump right into this. I don't want this to disconnect, and we'll go through this. So some ideas for income generation for a small trading account. A lot of what we do a lot of different things, but I think a lot of what retail traders lack is a proper trading plan. That's what I've seen over the last 3 years. I think they trade the wrong products. I think they try to become day traders, and everybody is stuck in front of the screens, pressing buttons, and really nobody has a real plan. Right, coming from the portfolio management side, we didn't day trade. Every day we weren't looking at a new hot stock. We weren't, buying 500 shares for 30 cents and calling it a win, right? We were putting on positions for 2, 3, 4 days, sometimes 2 or 3 months, and we were swinging a position, right? It's much less stress to run a portfolio that way, and there's different tools you can use to run a small portfolio. One of them is directional options trading, which I'm going to discuss. Number 2 is E-mini trading. And when I say mini trading, I don't mean being Rambo trading 20 or 30 contracts. I mean using 1 to 3 contracts to bring in $200, $300 a day. That'll help to income generate a portfolio. Number 3 is core position trading. What I mean by that is you put on a core position, like you want to be long energy stocks, and then you trade around your energy position using crude oil futures, right? So I'll give you an example this year. One of my instructors here in Vancouver was long UWTI, right? He made more money hedging around the position with crude futures than he did the actual position, right? So you can put on a core position in your portfolio and then go in there and use crude oil futures to basically scalp out $300 or $400 here and there and to add to your core position. So there's really an importance of equity options. I think there's 3 reasons. Number 1, there's leverage, right? Even if you're trading with $500,000 or $3 or $4 million portfolio, whatever your size is, even if it's 20,000, right? You can still leverage your capital and express your trading idea using calls and puts. It's a very, very simple concept, right? You can control more stock for less. We don't really exercise a lot of the options. It's not a lot of what we do. Even at the funds I was at, I never exercised the options. I just expressed my trading ideas to put on risk, and there was a lot of optionality in ideas that I could put on, right? I think a lot of retail traders could really benefit from this by using a directional options trading strategy to express a trading idea, right? Number 2 is risk control, right? Especially during these market environments. I think you're going to see a lot more volatility heading into the last 2 or 3 quarters, especially in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. You have earnings, right? Stocks will tend to gap up and down, right? A lot of day trading community that I've seen, the day trade community is like, oh, don't trade into earnings, right? I could not disagree with that anymore. In fact, the biggest trades I've ever had in my professional career and the personal career have come from earnings plays, right? Whether it was like Netflix missing by 30 points and I was long in the money, out of the money puts, whether it was being long LinkedIn recently, different items like that. These type of events, you have large volatility movements, even if you're trading 1 or 2 contracts, right? Provide your portfolio with a great risk to reward setup, right? You're not having to buy 500 shares of some stock and trade it for $1 or $2, right? Sit there and move your stop up and understand, okay, well, where did this candle close on the 1 minute chart? Where did this candle close, right? It's a very stressful way to trade. I think a lot of the community that I've seen trades like that, I think it's just really stressful. I don't think it's very successful, rather, for a lot of people. Number 3 is explosive gains, right? You have the ability to potentially realize large outsized gains, right? In 2011, 2012, I shorted University of Phoenix at this family office and another account I had my own. It was about a 400% trade over a duration of 2 weeks. Right. This was before options and weekly options became this kind of big kind of explosive product. Right. You didn't see a lot of people trading them in 2011, 2010. In fact, I have a full video on our website, Landshark Education. If you go there, in our financial education center, it's free. It's like 15 minutes. I explain this trade, the full thesis of why we got into it, why I exited it. It's 4 or 5 years old. You can go and take a look at it. Okay, so no questions. I just want to make sure. So a lot of people will kind of denounce options trading, right? When you look at presentations where you talk to people about trading, you always have to ask, well, what's their incentive, right? Why are they saying this, right? Is it because they're a stock trader, they don't know how to trade options? Is it because they're a futures trader and can't trade options, right? I'm a firm believer as a retail trader, you should understand how to trade futures if you're serious about this, and options, and stocks, right? So in 2013, Warren Buffett, I think we all know who this guy is, pretty famous, kind of said, hey, look, options are weapons of mass destruction, right? So if you go and look and see what people say to actually what they do, it's interesting to contrast those kind of ideas. So his net gains at Berkshire, you can see, surged to about 1.4 billion from derivatives trading, right? Now he's trading multiple derivatives contracts, whether it's on equities or different swaps, right? But a lot of his profits at Berkshire came from the optionality, right? If you look at a lot of professional hedge fund managers, in fact, I was watching the other day on Real Vision TV, a hedge fund manager by the name of John Hempton, runs like $10 billion. Again, he's not sitting here at his computer screen day trading a new hot stock watch list every day, right? These guys are putting positions on and being patient with them, right? That's kind of the same concept we do at Landshark. That's what we try to teach. What he talked about was having optionality, right? Having ideas where he could put on asymmetric risk, where he could go and risk 1 and make 10 or 12, right? Or risk 1 and make 3 or 4, right? So if you run a portfolio of 4 or 5 core stocks, let's just say you have some dividend stocks that pay you well, right? Part of that portfolio, you can adjust your income strategy, right? You can adjust it to where you can trade a little bit of E-mini futures, right, for $200-300 a day. You can trade maybe some risk plays on equities, right? That way you can kind of boost your returns without risking your entire portfolio on one simple idea. So this is a trade for one of my students in New York, with our students, not one of mine, because the other instructors taught them as well. This was a Chk trade, right? So Chk was a really popular stock with the day trading community, right? I remember seeing it on Twitter and other venues where people would trade this stock in 20 or 30 cents, and they'd be out and say, hey, look, I had a win, right? There's nothing wrong with that. However, you could look for outsized gains with this, right? He had a long call position on this particular move where he had a 10-month option, right? We went 3 months out. He was out 10 months, right? He had a huge, huge trade on just this one position, right? So he puts his position on. Chk has some type of news event that comes out. The stock spikes. He does extremely well on this, right? And it gives him a big boost in his portfolio. So short term, if he has losses, a large win like this will help to offset short-term losses, right? I'm a really, really big fan of calls and puts, right? We give a lot of presentations. In fact, we have a presentation we give around the country called our Shark Sessions workshops. We have one in Vancouver 2 weeks ago. We'll have it in Scottsdale in 3 weeks. I have people that come to these workshops, and they're really big believers in, and they first come to us in selling premium, right? It's just not something we do. We have some traders that do it, but again, when you're trading a portfolio for income, right, the concept, the idea is to risk a little to make a lot. So when you combine this with E-mini futures trading, right, I'll talk about some pros and then talk about some smart portfolio tactics that you can potentially use when you start to kind of implement this potentially into your portfolio. So you don't have to constantly search for this best stock concept, right? I think this is kind of a fraud, or I don't know, call it fraud's a bad word. kind of a fad of this. Every day there's a best stock list, or how do I find a stock scanner? Like I'm going to find some stock that's magically going to make you a millionaire, right? In reality, a lot of institutions, right, market making operations don't really look for buy and hold stocks, right? They're trading from supply and demand zones in the market, right? So futures, you don't have to do that. That's why I love this market, because I'm not always on the constant search. I just wake up. It's highly technical that I can place these trades. Number two, which I'm a huge fan of, I think this rule is kind of dumb, for lack of a better word. For retail traders, I don't like it. The pattern day trading rule. Right? Futures don't have this. You can day trade as much as you want. It's great for retail traders. And obviously margins as low as $500. So our futures broker we partner with, it's like $500 margin, right? I think you can open an account with about $1,000. I probably wouldn't do that, but that's the minimum. So E-mini futures is essentially a day trading tool, in my opinion, if you use it that way, without the stress of having to search every morning for a stock that's gapping up or gapping down, or what's hot this week, right? I see this all the time, right? I have a stock choice account for our company with quite a bit of followers, and people will ask. I remember asking about the stock MGT, right? It was a huge day trader stock for a while, and it's just not something we do. Where we look for these kind of pump kind of plays, right? It's just, to me, that's gambling, right? If you ask me, if I was on a desk again managing people's money or managing institutions' money, I did that, I'd probably be out, right? I take that same concept and we teach that same philosophy in our programs with retail traders and their own money. So the other pro is it's close to 24-hour trading. So how many of you traded the Brexit event 2 weeks ago? Right? If you weren't able to trade and you woke up to that gap down, you couldn't trade S&P. You couldn't trade NASDAQ stocks, right? You were out of luck, right? That sell-off was massive, right? It was huge trading opportunity to make money on those moves, right? Same thing on Monday when oil rolled over. If you couldn't trade equity or energy stocks until Tuesday, you missed out on a 5% down day on oil. Right, so that's why I'm a big believer in combining both equity options and small lot futures trading into a small portfolio. So I'll just okay. Yeah, this Wi-Fi is really bad, guys. My apologies. I didn't get a chance to get to our office today. I was busy trading, and I'm using the hotel I'm staying at's Wi-Fi. So income generation with E-mini, right? The idea is very simple. You don't want to complicate this by adding a lot of indicators or looking at reports. It's very simple. If you understand technical analysis at a very basic level, I think everybody could be successful at making small trades on E-mini futures, right? I think a lot of people complicate this, whether it's because of poor education or just a lack of education. So the idea here is to trade 2 to 2.5 hours during the morning trading session, right? So you want to wake up, look at Trade the Open, that's it. So if you're trading part-time, you're done, right? Your goal is very simple. You're not looking to make $3,000 or $4,000 a day. You're looking for compound trades that slowly build a small portfolio, right? There's no daily stock list. I love this idea. In fact, on our options trading side, we only trade about 10 stocks, and we just trade them over and over, right? We're like a market-making operation where I'm in a supply zone, I'm selling, I'm in a demand zone, I'm buying this with options, right? I'm not looking for some hot stock list because I understand, I know most of the time the stocks that you're going to look for aren't going to run 300 or 400%, right? That's just not realistic. Number two, cash position. Once you're done trading, you're not carrying a position overnight. I think that's a big benefit for a lot of traders. No gap down risk or gap up, or well, hopefully gap up if you're long. The margins are unbelievably low. Number four is it's one and done. Right, put the trade on, you're done. Go on with your day, do something else. Number five, it's highly technical based trading. You can get into these trades and not have to worry a lot about fundamentals. So let me give you an example of how to hedge a portfolio, which is the second part of this, with E-mini futures. Let's say I'm long a basket, 4 or 5 positions, which is the most I ever have in my book, of FANG stocks, right? And the market's selling off. But I think I'm coming into a demand zone, and I don't really want to sell those options. I think I'm still good on them, right? The very, very simple solution to this is not going out and buying puts. It's real simple, right? You can just sell the appropriate amount of E-mini futures, whether it's a 1, 2, 3, 5 lot, and hedge that short-term loss, right? Like I mentioned before, our instructor in Vancouver, I think, did more, close to about 9,000. Don't quote me on that, on his UWTI position, trading the futures than he actually did the shares, right? So he was hedging when oil would sell off, he'd get short oil, or like if he wanted to get long, he would buy one lot. And so he had a core position of the stock, and he would trade around it. Right? This is a really, really simple concept. It's not complicated. It doesn't require a lot of kind of like indicators. It's really straightforward, I think. Right? The same can be applied for other E-mini products. Crude oil, gold, NASDAQ stocks, same concept. If you own NASDAQ stocks and you think you want to short or hedge against a short-term pullback, short a NASDAQ futures contract. So now I'll go into the $36,000 price line long call trade. I know I'm pretty close to time here, and I'll go through a few more items and questions. So 3 weeks ago, we had a student in Scottsdale who actually I taught at our live class in Scottsdale break the student record at Landshark for largest trade since our inception. So he had this trade in June using risk capital, I believe, of less $7,000, and nailed about $36,000 in this trade. In fact, a week after, I had a student who also was coming in to trade with us. He's pretty young, like 27, 28. Nailed about $42,000 in this options trade. He's actually up. We're doing an interview with him, close to $140,000 now in the past 2 months of trading from a $20,000 account. So incredible story, something that you don't see a lot of. We're going to interview and discuss with him about that. So let's discuss the 4 key themes for this trade, right? How do we put this trade on? Why do we put this trade on? We'll walk through this. So again, we stopped this trade position, this idea for about 1 or 2 weeks. We were waiting for this setup to happen, right? So the way we kind of teach in one of our programs is to, again, not wake up every day like an Energizer bunny and chase 50 different names, like looking for stocks up, gapping down. It's, hey, look, when this gets into a demand zone, does this have the potential to then come out of demand and be a buy? And if it does, how far on a macro scale can this stock move? Determine from this buy zone, we had to move about 40 to 60 points. We actually got 100 points on price line in 3 days. So number one was stocking the position, right? We looked for the trade analysis ahead of time. Once the trigger occurred, we put the trade on. Number two, there was a gap at 1335. That gave us a large clue for a price target. Right? I'm a firm believer, and this comes from working on a portfolio management side. When you put on a trade, right, I don't think a trade should be put on unless you have multiple price targets. You have a conservative, aggressive, and a highly aggressive target. That way you know your risk before the trade is put on. Right? That's not the same story for futures. Futures are a little different. For equities and equity options trading, I think that should be true. So that price action gap allowed us to construct the risk on the trade. Right? Number three was a trade structure. Just because you have a thesis, you have to understand how am I going to structure this trade. Right? Most of us will kind of go the day trader route and buy some shares, flip it out, and that's it. Right? We don't really do a lot of that. We say, okay, look, let's structure this with options. Right? I'm not going to go out and buy 100 shares of price line at that price. I'm going to use in the money, out of the money calls, different expirations. So the way he structured this trade, right, allowed him to basically peel off the trade as it started to rise. Right, so when we got to our aggressive or conservative exit, he sold some. Then we got to the aggressive exit, he sold some more. Right, so as the trade started to develop and go in his favor, he put the trade on at one point and started to peel the trade off. Number four was overall market strength, right? This goes back to a core understanding of how the markets work. If you don't understand, right, the pieces of a market, if you can't look at the S&P 500 or the Dow or oil or the U.S. dollar and understand if they do this, equities will do this, or if I'm on the first month, you have mutual fund money coming in. If you don't understand certain little topics like that, it's tough to put a trade thesis together, right? We do use technical analysis, but we incorporate other free market indicators. One of those free market indicators is the S&P 500, right? I have never in my life, at professional desk or met a professional trader that has ever bought an indicator to trade with, right? The S&P 500, because there's a correlation with large stocks, the FANG stocks, I think a lot of you would know this, when that thing starts to move higher, so will Priceline. When that thing sells off, you can almost count a Priceline selling off, right? So because we had a strong indication of a large bullish move in S&P futures, what it allowed him to do was size that position bigger than he normally would, right? Because $7,000, and I know his portfolio size, was probably a little bit bigger than what he would have gone had we not had, right, a final confirmation saying, hey, look, you have a really good green light on this, right? You have pocket aces, right? Maybe you should press this a little harder and try and squeeze some out of this trade, right? So that goes to the risk management side. I think a lot of that's an important part of trading as well. I know I'm close to time here, so I knew this was going to happen. So I'll go into more detail with this, and the other $42,000 trade the other student made literally a week later. I mean, literally 5 days later he made this. In the Trading 101 class on Monday, right? That class is an hour long, and I'll discuss that with you guys. I'll go over some questions here real quickly. Again, here's some screenshots just to show you guys. You guys can review us. The easiest way to do this is to spend a week with us, either in our futures trading room or chat room, and get to know the community. We have other traders that are brand new. We have traders that have traded for 15 years, right? Some trade options, some trade futures, some trade both. It just depends. Right, so we had some really good results from students recently, so a couple of screenshots you can look at there. So I'll go into final takeaways and take some questions. So options are a great product when you use them correctly, right? When you use them correctly, you've got to trade the right stocks, right? You've got to trade the appropriate size. You've got to understand when and how to trade them. Number two, the combination of options, swing trade, E-mini futures is an explosive income generating strategy, right? If you can incorporate this, right, into a swing kind of strategy, you can put on an option swing. Like right now I'm long Apple options, and I was hedging this one with E-mini, really small, like 1-2 lot contracts, right? So number three is day trading. A set of new stock each day is not really required, right? You don't have to find new stocks. I think a lot of people that I've met over the last year at our workshops are into this mindset, right? We really, really try to pull people out of this daily stock watch list thing, right? I really think it's detrimental because you never really understand a set of stocks properly. If you're on a trade desk at a bank or at a fund, right, you don't cover energy, tech, financials, and mining stocks. You follow one sector. When you follow one sector, you begin to understand how those stocks move better, right? So that's why I'm a big believer in decreasing your watch list. Number four is risk less, make more. If you're trading a small portfolio, right, again, use less capital outlay and make more, right? Use the leverage that the futures firm provides you. Use the leverage equity options provide you, and use that to your advantage. So I'll take some questions. There's two items. If you guys want to sign up for Monday's class, it's on Monday at 5. It's going to be recorded. The second thing you can do is go to our website, landsharkeducation.com. If you log in and create an account, it's free. We have a financial education center. You can go in the back end. I have that video of the University of Phoenix trade I made in 2011 there. It's from 2011. That's how old it is. We have other videos on equity options basics, futures basics. We have our instructors trading blog, which they posted. In fact, you can see that trade where Ophir, I think he shows his P&L and talks about the trade. They made like 8,000 on this UWTI position. So with that Trading 101 bundle, it's Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's only $7. Again, I'd make it free, but everybody just comes in. If you're serious, throw up $7. Come in. It's 5 days. That's it. You also get 5 days access to our main trading room. We trade everything in that room. I'm in there 24/7. It is a 24/7 trading room, by the way, right? We have traders. In fact, one of them is in here. I just saw him. We have traders in London. We have traders in Australia, Singapore, Canada. So some traders trade overnight session. Some trade the day session. So it's a 24/7 trading community you can go into. And I see some questions, and I'll answer them. Okay, cool. So I've got a few minutes left. I can take some questions. Sorry for the cutout there. And in fact, I'm saying sorry a lot since I've been in Canada. They love to say I'm so sorry up here. We also have another website I'll give you. We have longshortradio.com. I have a radio show in Scottsdale, Arizona that airs every Tuesday. All the recordings are on longshortradio.com. You can listen to it live. We have trader interviews coming out as well. We have a YouTube you can go to. If you have questions, you want to sign up for that course, you can basically email us, or when you go to the website right now, you'll see a link. It says Trading 101 class on the right side. Click that. You can sign up. Really, really simple. Okay, questions? I'm on Thinkorswim right now and see the margins are for my China trading. So Thinkorswim margins are $5,000. You have to trade with a different broker. This is going to be Tape got to run some errands. My man Grant Parrish is throwing out exclamation points in anger. Yes, I trade options. Cool, cool. What is your website? LandsharkEducation.com. Right? So Landshark Canada is on there as well. Landshark, we have offices in 4 different cities right now. So Newport Beach, we have an office. Houston, Atlanta will be open soon. I'm in Vancouver and in Scottsdale. So if you want to sign up for the Trading 101 class on Monday, right, it comes with the class. It's 1 hour. You have 5 days access to our live futures trading room, 5 days access to our chat room. Right. So in fact, if you actually go, and I'll take you to it. If you go to our website right here, if this doesn't take forever, you can access the website. Our Twitter is Shark Education. You can go in there as well and follow us for updates. So a lot of you, it looks like a lot of you trade options. I just saw the ones on there. Cool. Are you guys directional options traders? How do you guys trade? Directional? Sell premium? I'm not a big fan of that, by the way. Nice. I like it. Yeah, the website is landsharkeducation.com. Let me see if I can't go to it. I don't know why it won't go here. So Landshark Education right here, if you go to the main page, right? So our free trading workshops, we started to hold some online. We don't really do it anymore. We have them live in different cities. You can attend them. If you're in Vancouver, we did one 2 weeks ago. If you go to the menu tab, scroll down to Trading 101. This is where you can sign up for the 5-day E-mini room trial and then the chat room. And I say E-mini, we trade oil in there, gold, a lot. It's really, really patient trading. And then you have a chat room as well. So all this is $7. Again, it's not a lot of money. The intent here is not to make money off this. The intent is to allow you guys to, if you're interested, to come and see who we are and get a better view if this community of education fits you. What will be covered in the 101 class? Well, we're going to continue discussing the price line options trade, discussing how to use discount margins at futures firms, discussing how we kind of teach, and then going through using multiple accounts and also discussing a few other items. Right. If you want, I'll pay for it for you. Just email me. It'll be a good class. Kirby, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin, email me. I mean, easier. You have my email, man. Shoot me an email. Easier that way. Yeah, so there it is, ICE. To actually get to the Financial Education Center, it's free. So I'll show you guys how to log into that. I would use that as well. Go to login register. You can register the account here. Right? The Education Center is really, really cool because we have a lot of videos in the back end. And then there's our instructors trading blog, where our instructors will post different trades and ideas. Any other questions? I know we went through that fast. Again, sorry for the disconnection on there. I've got probably about a minute left at most. If there's any other questions I can discuss, we will. But we will be discussing more of the price line trades that we've made recently. We'll go into some more detail.